Hi everyone! It's been a while since I've done a part 2 of my vinyl update, and there is a good reason why. In that video, I said I got a vinyl record every paycheck. Well, unfortunately, I ended up getting pretty broke during that year, so I wasn't really able to collect as many records. And it's been 2 years, and I just thought, you know what? Why not make another one? Now that I have a stable job as a pizza delivery boy, I'm able to kind of have more of a steady income. I use my tips to kind of buy a vinyl record, and I thought, hey, why not continue the saga? So right now I'm gonna just go quickly over a few of my records, kind of like explain why I like them. Some, I'm gonna be honest with you, I bought completely blind, and some I just don't like. But most of these are albums that I made sure I really, really, really liked or had a potential to like. So let's start. So my first one right here is Highland High Rain by Aztec Camera. I saw this at like a pawn store, and I'm like, what the fuck is an Aztec Camera? And I mean, by looking at the album art right here, I guess this is an Aztec Camera. I don't know. But I already heard the track Oblivious, and I fucking love that song to death. So I was like, hey, you know what? Why not get the record that it comes in? And most of these songs are actually really good. Oblivious, The Boy Wonders is also a really, really kind, nice, gentle song. Walk Out on Winter is a classic. The ending of the bugle sounds again. It's just great, and the guitar player Roddy Frame is so underrated. He deserves as much credit as someone as Johnny Marr, just because of how innovative his chord progressions are. He uses a lot of alternative chords. He uses a lot of sevenths, ninths, and a lot of weird chords that you just wouldn't really see in popular music. And he can fucking shred on the guitar. He's an amazing guitar player. I'm studying this album right now, so that way I can improve on my acoustic playing for my future EP that's going to come out this year. So stay tuned for that. And I just thought I'd move on from this. And the next one is Meat Puppets 2. Oh my fucking gosh. I found this at a punk store. It's a reissue. Don't get me wrong. I could have gone the original for 50. But I mean, I'm not rich. So I just decided to get the reissue. And come on, this album speaks for itself. The intro, Split Myself in Two, literally sounds like the band is going to fall apart. Magic Toy Missing makes you want to headbang, but it also makes you want to square dance. It's a really weird combination. And then Plateau sounds like grunge before grunge was even freaking like in the scene. And then of course I always see beautiful visions when I listen to Aurora Borealis. It's just a beautiful, beautiful album. And I love the little bowl right over here. And I mean, come on, you can't miss out on Oh Me, Leg of Fire, fucking I'm a Mindless Idiot. All these songs are great. And this album, I'm so happy I found it because I've been wanting a Meat Puppets record forever. I do like Up on the Sun a lot, but I find this one to be... The highs on this one are really, really, really groundbreaking. While Up on the Sun is a great album, but it's a little more consistent, and I just prefer the highs on this. Another album that I have that I'm kind of mixed on is actually Tupac's All Eyes on Me. I like Tupac when he's not trying to be someone he's not. I don't know, I just feel like he tries too hard to play on that gangster persona. When in fact, if you listen to his earlier stuff, he's really, really a gentle soul, and he's like a really, really introspective person. So it's kind of weird on certain tracks here where he's like praising women, yet on the next track he's like fuck bitches, fuck hoes. I'm really divided on this album. Don't get me wrong, there's some freaking classics on here like Ambitions as a Rider, All About You, How Do You Want It, No More Pain, Hearts of Men. Lots of great tracks on this, but unfortunately, it's a little weird. Don't get me wrong, I still enjoy this album, but it's kind of, I don't know. It's one of those weird ones in my album collection that I think I need a little more time to process. Now, this one I bought kind of blindly, but I knew a few tracks on this. Fugazi's in On the Kill Taker. And I mean, I like 13 Songs a lot. I think it's a perfect album. So I just thought, hey, you know what? I found this for $14 sealed. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm going to buy this. And it's a great album, honestly. I still need to listen to more Fugazi so I can, I hear they're a really, really, really consistent band. I never really got into Minor Threat for some reason. I don't know, it was just a little too straightforward for me. Maybe I need to give Minor Threat another listen so that way I can appreciate Fugazi a little more, but I personally really like this album. My favorite tracks on it are Smallpox Champions, Sweet and Low, Great Cop, and obviously Returning the Screw. This album's pretty great. It's pretty aggressive. It has a good combination of aggressiveness while also having some, slow ambient tracks. So it's a pretty varied album. I really enjoyed the the songs on this. And considering it was a blind buy, I'm actually really happy about this. Now, enough of the blind buys. This one's actually one that I'm really familiar with. Adolescent, self-titled. Come on, this is OC fucking classic music. I can freaking go on hours about this album. It's hilarious. It's a comment, and it's also like, I don't know, the aggression on it is, it's really fun. It's a really fun album. And there's some even sad songs on here, like Kids of the Black Hole. I don't know, when you know some people that are going through shit and that live in shitty homes, like, I know Kids of the Black Hole wasn't meant to be like a deep, deep song, but to me, you know, it's kind of a sad song. And my favorite song on this are freaking Creatures. It's a hilarious track. Who Is Who, LA Girl, Self-Destruct. All the tracks on this album are a classic. You can't go wrong with any of these. I love this album to death. Now this one is one that this one I'm mixed on. I love Soft Cell, don't get me wrong. Non-Stop Erotic Cabaret is one of the greatest synth pop albums ever. But this one's The Art of Falling Apart. And I do like this one, don't get me wrong. The thing that I don't really enjoy as much about it is the fact that Mark Alban relies too much on these melodramatic vocals, while in Non-Stop Erotic Cabaret, he was more of a seedy, more of a perverted type of vocal style. And I find just the songs on that not self-titled, their first album, to be a lot stronger than the ones on these. Don't get me wrong, this contains the fucking Hendrix medley, which is pretty ballsy for a synth punk band, considering the fact that, well, synth punk / synth pop. And I'm just hearing Mark Alman and Dave Ball tackle fucking Hendrix on the synths. It's pretty funny. I like it though. But yeah, most of these tracks are kind of hit or miss. You know, there's a few good ones, like The Art of Falling Apart, obviously, Loving You, Hating Me, great songs, but I don't know. I feel like I want a copy of Non-Stop Erotic Cabaret, but I just haven't been able to find it. And then, okay, this one is actually my favorite Prince album. I love Purple Rain, but Dirty Mind, holy fucking shit. I found this for $8 and I already pirated it like back in high school, so I like pretty much like knew I needed a copy of this, you know, and holy shit. What the fuck? A lot of these songs are dirty as fuck. Prince proved himself to be quite the, you know, there's some songs on here that kind of like raise your eyebrows like, uh-huh. Like Sister, you know, Uptown, When You Were Mine, like Do It All Night. These songs are just about sex, but they're great. Prince, I believe, played all the songs, obviously by himself. He recorded the instruments by himself, and it's just fucking crazy how this man single-handedly just recorded a lot of the instruments on his song. That's really difficult to do. Going solo is really hard, and I commend Prince for his fucking hard work. Rest in peace, you know. You're one of the greatest artists of her time, and we're all blessed to be able to have access to his music. And another one that I really, really like is Big Black's song about fucking. Holy shit, when I first heard this, I was completely in awe. Although, I mean, I came from Atomizer, so that one, I was expecting them going in a direction of Atomizer, you know, something similar, but this one is actually a little bit different. This one is a little bit more fast-paced, and I think it has a little bit more, they both have industrial elements to it, but I feel like this one is actually a little more accessible than Atomizer. And I mean, you can't go wrong with songs like El Dopa. I really like their Kraftwerk model. I have a bass cover of it. Kraftwerk cover of The Model. And I mean, The Power of Independent Trucking, that track just kind of goes right through you. And it's like, holy shit. Once you hear the first track, you kind of know what you're getting yourself into. Fish Fry, you know, Ergot, and yeah, Pavement Saw. They're all great tracks. I highly recommend you get this album. It's great. And here's one I bought recently that, I was looking for Maggot Brain, but, Funkadelic's freaking For Your Mind and Your Ass Will Follow. I heard this. I've listened to it before, but the thing that really puzzles me about this album, the songs have very little structure if you listen to it. There's like no real chorus, there's hardly many hooks. A lot of these are more statements. And, it basically comes down to the groove, you know, the bass player kind of providing a groove for Eddie Hazel. This is Eddie Hazel's prime, besides, Maggot Brain. Seriously, I don't know why he doesn't get as much respect as someone like Jimi Hendrix. He's pretty much the Hendrix of funk. He's fantastic at what he does. And I just think it's because he's in a funk band that he's not as known as some of the great guitar players. He really, really deserves it. And this is one of those albums that you can't really pinpoint tracks to. You just listen to the whole thing, and it pretty much sets you up for a mind-boggling experience. The whole is better than the sum of its parts. I would say that. The next one that I have here is The Velvet Underground and Nico. Wait, no. White Light, White Heat. I just thought of The Velvet Underground and Nico, but White Light, White Heat is actually my favorite Velvet Underground album. The reason why I said Velvet Underground and Nico is actually because a lot of people prefer that one over this one, but this one is actually my favorite Velvet's album. Like The Gift, Lady Godiva's freaking Operation, Sister Rae, Here She Comes Now. It's such a gentle, beautiful song. Nirvana covered it, and I Heard Her Call My Name. I mean, that song just fucking destroys your eardrum. It's like just feedback and feedback. This album, considering this was released in 1968, this is a really innovative album, and it pretty much influenced a lot of post-punk artists. There's like no way that this album did not influence trillions of bands. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, Nico is actually like my least favorite Velvet Underground album. It's just Nico that I could never really get into her voice. I think she kind of ruins the album for me. I mean, I still appreciate Lou Reed to death, though. I mean, I'm wearing a fucking Transformers shirt. How can I not freaking appreciate Lou Reed's work? But this is my favorite Velvet Underground album. And right over here, I have Tyranny by the Voids. Alright, I know a lot of people on this channel may not be the biggest Strokes fan, but I would consider giving this album a listen. It's a synth punk album. It's straight up a synth punk album. Julian Casablancas decided to stop being a people pleaser and finally went with his own vision. And you get some really cool artwork in it too. I mean, kind of get to see the band inside. It's a great album. This is actually out of print. So I was able to find a copy of this for like $20 at like my local record store. I mean, the Voids aren't really as known as the Strokes. They're kind of like, whatever, we'll sell it. But it's actually worth quite a bit. So I'm not too upset that I found this for so cheap. And I mean, can't forget about Black Flag. I fucking worship this album. I listened to this when I was depressed constantly. This actually I would say this album straight up saved my life. And right now I actually have a copy of Husker Du Zen Arcade coming in on the way. And that album was also really significant to me. But as of now, I mean, this is, I have a Black Flag album. The only one I have, I'm looking for My War, Slip It In. I'm looking for a few other ones, but this was all I could find at my local record store. So I mean, it's not a bad buy, I never had this on CD. I never had this on any other platform. So I'm just so happy that I'm able to pay back the bands that really influenced me and that really, really, really made me just enjoy life a little more at the time. Alright, before you unsubscribe, I'm gonna crack up Carly Rae Jepsen's Emotion. I know what you may be thinking. Carly Rae Jepsen. You have a Carly Rae Jepsen album? That's what I've been told all the time. You have a Carly Rae Jepsen album? Yeah, I'm actually a really big fan of Carly Rae Jepsen. Why? I think she's one of the best pop artists of our time, hands down. This album is a nice mixture of the 80s and of modern music. I'm not a big fan of modern artists like The Weeknd or Dua Lipa too much because they just rip off the 80s, They straight up just rip off the 80s. Well, this album is actually really good because of the fact that it's able to combine the new stuff with the old stuff. And for me, I love that, I love progression. I just love it when an artist gets themselves out of their comfort zone. And plus, you probably did not expect this. If you listen to this, you would not expect this to be so good, but it's actually a pretty solid album. And now, I mean, this is one of the bands that my channel greatly covers, Mr. Bungle. I mean, I love Mr. Bungle, California. It's my favorite album by Mr. Bungle. Don't get me wrong, their self-titled is amazing too. But I find this album to just be accessible for everyone. Like, every time I put this on, people are like, oh, what is that, Sweet Charity is my favorite. Also, Retro Vertigo, just the little lo-fi portion of this is just absolutely beautiful. I love Ars Moriendi. If I butchered that, just let me know. And Vanity Fair, people hate Vanity Fair, but I love it. I love the slow songs on this, and I love the really fast tracks on this one too. If you're a music fan, listen to Mr. Bungle's California. You will not regret it. Another album that I have that I love, this channel, Mike Watt, this one's for you. I love you. Double Nickels on the Dime. This was a gift by my ex-girlfriend. And while we had our problems, I loved her for giving me this. This album is the reason why my chops got so good. initially I was just kind of in a rut musically. I was playing like every other bass player, fifth, third, blah, blah, blah. But when I heard this kind of made me realize there's no rules to music. There are no rules. Each of these tracks is so strange. Mike Watt using chords, D Boon's just vocals that are just kind of like a stream of consciousness, and the drumming it's literally freaking George Hurley is the Buddy Rich of punk. He is just fucking fantastic in the kit. And just the fact that this has so many songs, yet I can't skip any of them, is just, that's a great statement. This is probably my number 2 favorite album of all time. I don't really have a number 1, so I guess maybe this would be, I don't know. It's hard for me to pinpoint down a number 1 because it just changes so often. But right now, this album greatly influenced me as a person and as a musician and as an artist in general. It proved to me that you don't have to make accessible music to just be fantastic, and you don't have to play the bass like everyone tells you to play the bass. 2 more albums before I kind of end this. Right here I have Virtue by the Voids. I'm a big Voids fan. I mean, I saw them in concert, and I love them. My ex didn't like them too much because she thought they were kind of cacophonous and just didn't really sound like the Strokes. But I actually really love the new direction Julian Casablancas is going in. Leave It in My Dreams, Curious, Pyramid of Bones. I mean, I can listen to this entire album and not skip any of the tracks. It's great. And I mean, while Tyranny does have Human Sadness, which in a way would kind of, which one I prefer more, it all depends on the mood. Like I said, Human Sadness on Tyranny is just, that's like, you should buy that album for Human Sadness. It's pretty much the Bohemian Rhapsody of our time. But this album is pretty consistent. It's weird too. It makes you raise your eyebrows sometimes, and it makes you wonder what other direction are they going to go. And I feel like the album art kind of symbolizes that. You're kind of like in a box, and you're just kind of like listening, and the tracks just go right through you, and you're like, holy shit, and you want more and more and more, and then it ends with Pointlessness, which is kind of a wink to Human Sadness, no pun intended. And my last album that I recently got, I mean, like I said, there's more coming, so I can do more of these. Radiohead's The Band. I just got into Radiohead recently. Before, I used to, kind of like Tool, I used to not like the fans, so because the fans were kind of shit, I just never really got into Radiohead because I was like, I don't know, the fans just turned me off, but I'm stupid, because this is honestly one of the greatest Britpop albums to ever exist. This is my favorite Radiohead album. I've been listening to them in order right now. I mean, as of now, it is my favorite, although In Rainbows comes quite close, and my favorite track on this is Nice Dream. This album literally taught me how to play guitar. I've been playing guitar, and this album is really helping me think outside the box in terms of chords. Not playing the simple C, G, E chord, Tom York is a fantastic guitar player, and he doesn't get enough credit. He uses some really unique chords, and this is my favorite Radiohead album, and my favorite track, besides Nice Dream, is also Bulletproof, I Wish I Was. Strange title. They could have just put I Wish I Was Bulletproof, but Bulletproof, I Wish I Was. So, there's my record collection as of recently. Long-winded, 20 minutes, you can just kind of skip around if you like, but this is who I am, it's been a while since I made this, and I just wanted to thank you for watching, and I can continue doing more of these every now and then, whenever I have money, which is now quite often, so I can just buy more records and just finally enjoy the life that I've been wanting to live, because being in college was really hard for me, and I'm just happy to have money now. So expect more covers, expect more videos. I'm not going anywhere, and just thank you for supporting the channel.